Okay then, so it runs, still pretty chuffed, still grinning, but we're not without our teething problems. As I think I mentioned in the last video, when you stick it into first gear it does cut out, and I'm 99.9% sure that's the clutch cut out or safety switch, whatever you want to call it, which I removed a few videos back. This bike doesn't have a side stand switch on it, so it narrows that down to, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the clutch switch. I thought by removing the switch and connecting the two wires, kind of similar way that I did with the Bonneville side stand switch, that would complete the circuit and effectively bypass it. I seem to recall, to kind of test this theory before I had like the carb and the fuel on it, just thumbing the starter to hear if the starter was engaging, in my mind was enough to check it, and that's why I kind of went ahead with it, because I'm pretty sure it worked. But I have tried starting the bike in gear and it's dead, and just the way in which it dies when you clink it into gear just feels very much like it's a safety switch kind of feel. So I've obviously cocked up a little bit there, so I've got a horrible feeling I've got to try and remember where I buried those wires and joined together in the loom. I think I'm going to have to undo some of that loom and have a look. So that's the big kind of to-do thing, which I've got planned today. The other one is Cranky Nomad, I believe, I think commented on my last video when I was mentioning about reassembling the needle into the slide on the carb. I'd kind of forgotten which way the stuff goes, and he's actually given me some information which kind of ties in a little bit. The way I thought it went back together is the same way that he says his is, and the only reason I deviated from that was I didn't trust my memory, and it's probably not going to pick up too well on here, but on the parts diagram you can see like the needle, then it shows the spring, then the spacer, then the washer, then the clip, and then into the top of it. So the way this kind of reads to me at least is that the spring was how I had it. I'm beginning to think that's not the case. So I've taken the carb off, so I'm gonna pull the top off and change the spring around again, just to be on the safe side. Just kind of try and eliminate any issues that we have, because the main thing is I want to try and get the bike running, so obviously on a private piece of road I can test the bike out and see if it's bogging down anywhere with the jetting, and just see how the bike's responding with the jets we've got in there. And I need to, I don't think you can really do that with the bike kind of just chocked up and running and revving it. I think it's supposed to be under load. So yeah, so we've got those things to address, and there is a handful of things left obviously to finish the bike. But tell you what, I'll have a walk around now, and as much for me as it is for you, we'll go through what else needs doing to the bike. Right then, so starting from the front, obviously this is going to be one of the next things that gets looked at, is the headlight. Nothing too major here, it's a fairly straightforward bit of wiring. The only thing is I've got to source some kind of bit of metal that I can make this bracket out of, so I need to have a rummage around my parts, so to speak, to try and find a bracket to mount that, and then make some decisions on whether I'm going to just Scotch Brite this to dull it down a bit, whether it's going to get powder coated. Not sure. Got a set of bars that are going to go on Jen's America, which are chrome, but we're going to try and make a decision whether she wants them black. So if that's two things going to the powder coaters, maybe it will be worthwhile. But yeah, so that's a definite thing to think on. One of the other things I kind of want to do is either work out a mudguard or at least some sort of bracing for the front here. I don't know, it just seems a bit, always I feel it feels a bit flimsy not having some sort of brace at the front there. So yeah, just for peace of mind and for the application of a mudguard, that's certainly something I'd like to address. We've got a mirror on there now. I think I'm just going to leave the one mirror on. That's one of the other spare ones like I've got on my Bonnie, so that's sorted. I also got a new horn, put a new horn in there. That's now just mounted underneath the seat, so you can't really see that too obviously when everything's on. So yeah, just had to extend the wires for the loom and bring it back round to there. So that's sorted.
We obviously need to get the rear indicators. There's a set ending tonight. It's Sunday today, so there's a set ending tonight. I'll put a punt in on those. If not, I think I'll just buy the bullet and buy a new set and just get those licked and done, and order up a number plate. I also need to, I'm quite keen on having, like, rather than the metal kind of just metal clamp that was on there, maybe a nice sort of brown leather strap or something like that on there to give it that kind of cool kind of a look. So I need to do some charity shop dipping around to find a nice thin leather belt. But that's, I think, pretty much all the little things I need to get addressed. I think that's going to stay as is. I'm quite happy with that. In the kind of bare metal, no holes, that's pretty much decided. But otherwise, I think we are pretty much there. Oh, speedo, of course, and then that'll be the other thing. And good news is tomorrow I've actually volunteered myself for some, I'm not really sure what it is. It's at the hospital, and I've got to do, it's some sort of medical kind of experimentation-y type thing. I think, I'm not entirely sure what it is I've let myself in for, but I'll have to be giving somewhere in the region of 1/2 to 3/4 of a pint of blood, something like that, I think. And I hate giving blood, but I'm getting paid for my time, so that might pay for the speedo. So literally, there has definitely been blood and sweat put into this bike. But right, let's crack on with the carb. Try and get that spring the right way round, and then and do some of that wiring. Okay then, let's have a little update. This has really pained me to have to do this, pull it all apart, and I don't even know if it was all in vain as well. Yeah, I've got my head scratching going at the moment, so I've pulled all the loom apart, because typical, the bit that I thought it was, which was the clutch switch, down here, but check that, it was beautifully soldered and it was heat shrunk. Well, let's start. There's a few weird things that have happened. Okay, so I've changed the way the needle set up in the slide on there back to what I'm pretty sure is correct. I wouldn't have thought a tick over and putting into gear that would have had a bearing on anything, because I would imagine it's more when you're what throttle you're on, and yeah, so that didn't seem to, you know, that was just fixed for something else that potentially could go tits up. I was fairly certain it was going to be something electrical, but as I say, that join was absolutely fine, and I'd heat shrunk it, and there was nothing wrong with it. So I figured, well, let's try it, let's cut it, so let's see if for some reason when it's not a completed circuit, whether that has any bearing on it. Unlikely, but I gave it a go, and of course there's nothing. You can't even start the bike. It's totally dead when that's cut. So I've joined them back together with the crocodile clips just for now. Then I noticed I was getting the horn, and that was it. No lights, no backlight, no indicators, nothing. And I traced that back down to where the ground, which has been, that's where it's been since I put the loom back on, has been attached here above the coil. And everything's worked, and I didn't even touch that, and it just wasn't working. And it's taken me a while of unplugging everything and checking everything's plugged in. I then thought, right, let's try the ground point. I've moved the ground to here on the steering stem on there, and even on that side of the coil, and everything's fine. It works. Was it maybe a grounding issue? I don't know. This is so peculiar. But joining it all back, so essentially it's the same as it was, and it all seems to be working absolutely fine. So I am, yeah, maybe I'm just getting tired. Let's see if there's enough fuel in the carb to try it out again. So we're in neutral. So there we go, clicks down into gear, doesn't cut out. So I don't know, maybe was the fault down to a dodgy ground? Who knows? Right, so I'm now going to wrap all this back up together, resolder those wires, reheat shrink them, and then yeah, go to a different ground. I mean, the connections are all clean. I know there's powder coat on there, but I would have thought if there was no ground, I wouldn't have got any lights. You know, the same symptoms I was getting when I've just tried to do it all again. You know, I shouldn't have been able to start it up and go and have lights and everything, but I don't know, mysterious, very mysterious, but maybe I've just choked my brain cells with all the exhaust fumes in here. But right, let's tidy all this back up now, and I'll turn back on, and hopefully I might have a little ride around before I lose the light. Right, all the wiring's back in and on together. Yes, it's strange. I think it's all traced back down to grounding. That's all it is. I've just got this hooked up on here at the moment. I wonder if I'm going to have to expose a bit off the powder coat, because it seems to start now and run, but when you click it into gear, it's only done it when I put the tank on, but when it clicks into gear, that's when it dies, and then it won't start again at all. There's no lights or power, and it's always the ground. You move the ground somewhere else and it starts again. So okay, we've got lights, we've got power. Neutral for our first gear. Now we're in gear there. So I think I just need to, so that's working with it just temporarily on there. Yep. So, see, I'll try and whack the tank on now. Maybe I need to just grind some of the powder coat away to, maybe it just needs a better earthing point. That's the only thing I can think of. There we go, just a simple grounding issue, which was, yeah, took a bit of searching to actually find that, but there we go, at least that's sorted. Yeah, everything is running fine. I've ground off a little bit of the powder coat and cleaned the connections up even more, and just, so there's a really good solid earth on there now. So and repeated turns on and off and runs and stuff, and it's absolutely fine. And also had a little bit of a chug around, as you saw. And yeah, I'm definitely on to, I didn't get it much further than quarter throttle, but it's definitely pulling and chugging along absolutely fine. So that's really cool. Obviously we'll have to see what it's like on more wide open throttle. But yeah, promising so far. I have also ordered the indicators for the rear and a number plate. They're the two things that I've ticked off the list now. So it is just the speedo and whatever I decide to do with the front brace. But yeah, so I'm quite excited to get those in, and that's going to be just a little bit more complete. So I've turned my attention just now to the headlight. All I've got to do is just make up a little bracket and wire it in. So not too bad. So I was trying to think, what have I got that will do for a bit of scrap. Don't want to buy anything. So I have got still kicking around an old road sign, which I procured from somewhere, and it's aluminium, reasonably thick as well. So I've just been cutting a small chunk off that. There you go, that big, in fact, down the bottom there. Shaping it around it. So I've got the first rough shape, and I've put it on. So I'll give you a little look at that and see what you think. Okay, so headlight on, obviously still in an extremely rough state, but just to give me an idea of the of where it's going to sit, and I'm pretty happy with that. I quite like it kind of sunken in a little bit. quite dropped down. I think that's the optimal angle for it, still with a bit of leeway to change the beam up and down. So the kind of the bottom half's pretty much there, shaped now. So now I need to just, you can see I drilled some extra holes just to experiment with the mounting point. That seemed to be a bit too far forward and out on a limb. So all I've got to do now is just get rid of that hole. I'm just going to just curve it all in neatly around there, so it's a very nice, unobtrusive, smooth bracket. So at the moment I'm wired the pilot light in, so there's no pilot light. There you go. So let's have some light on. Right, whip that off and get shaping and cleaning that up. Bracket shaped and rounded off. Obviously just in bare metal still, so I'm guessing that's going to be going black, I'd imagine. The only slight change I've made is just I had 2 spare rubber washers which I've mounted behind it just for, I don't know, a little bit of vibration fun, and it just pushes it forward a tiny bit, so we have got a fair bit of wiggle room for the position of the headlight when I get that aimed straight. But yeah, I'm content with that as the bracket. Sorted. Well, nothing more to do now except for wait for the bracket to dry. I've given it a couple of coats of etch primer, so I'll start layering up the satin black on that and give some consideration as to what I'm going to do in terms of colour of the headlight. And in the meantime, squeeze through the bikes. Slung the number plate on. It's 8x6, that one, so it's not take the piss small, and it's not full legal size for our ridiculous UK fence panels we have to have, but actually it looks bigger through the camera than it does in the flesh. It doesn't look quite as bad in the flesh, but there we go. So there we go. The headlight brackets had God knows how many coats. It's been a fair few, but that's pretty much gone off now, and ready to accept the headlight mount. I think that's, yeah, definitely much better it being black, blends in, and just turn on the rear indicators are on. Let's, excellent. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. It's now Friday. I had hoped to have all this kind of done by Wednesday, but I have been pretty busy this week with other stuff, and I only got the indicators in the post today, so it's kind of delayed things a little bit, and I've had to wait for the bracket to dry. I can't put the headlight on until that's dried, so yeah, it's just been waiting. So but there we go, I'll wrap it up on that one. We're just a speedo away really now from completion. I'll get probably I'll look at the headlight tomorrow, I think, the weekend, and maybe sort out the wiring. Still haven't made a complete decision on what to do with the paint scheme on that, whether it's going to go black, brushed. I might experiment with getting some other bits of odd sorts of chrome and just seeing what affects and seeing how they look. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. So yeah, really close now. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you on the next one.